Hello guys, my name is Kenton Park. Welcome back to the series where we go through the book of Proverbs. Today we're in Proverbs chapter 6, going through verses 1 through 19. Let's get into the text. My son, if you have become surety for a stranger, have given a pledge for a stranger, if you have been snared with the words of your mouth, have been caught with the words of your mouth, do this then, my son, and deliver yourself. Since you have come into the hand of your neighbor, go, humble yourself, and importune your neighbor. Do not give sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like the gazelle from the hunter's hand, or like a bird from the hand of the fowler. Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her ways and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares her food in the summer, and gathers her provisions in the harvest. How long will you lie down, O sluggard? When will you rise from your sleep? A little slumber, a little folding of the hands for rest, and your poverty will come like a thief, and your need like an armed man. A worthless person, a wicked man, is one who walks with a false mouth, who winks with his eyes, and who signals with his feet, who points with his finger, who with perversity in his heart devises evil continuously, and who spreads strife. Therefore his calamity will come suddenly. Instantly he will be broken, and there will be no healing. There are 6 things which the Lord hates, yes, 7 which are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that run rapidly to evil, a false witness who utters lies, and one who spreads strife among his brothers. All right. I think this passage can be broken up into 2 sections. First section is about work ethic from verses 1 through 11, and second section is about the wicked life in verses 12 through 19. From there, each section can be broken up into 2 sections also. The first section, about 1 through 5, is about debt and humility. It kind of has this Dave Ramsey-esque vibe to it, where you get into debt, your first priority should be getting out of debt, paying your debts. This language in verse 4 and 5 is really about being diligent and getting your work done to get your debts paid off as quickly as possible. But I think this opening section also has implications of just humility in general. Verse 3 talks about, since you have come into the hand of your neighbor, go humble yourself. I think there are other ways that we need to humble ourselves sometimes. Sometimes we need to humble ourselves in an apology to somebody whom we've offended. Sometimes if we've lied to somebody, then going and humbling ourselves and apologizing for lying to them, something like that. The second section, verses 6 through 11, is all about work ethic. It talks about the work ethic of an ant, and also talks about the work in the time of harvest, and that is to say the time that is most beneficial to work. For like a college student, it would be spending your summer working so that you can afford to go to college and afford time to study and do homework. But overall, the point is to just be diligent in your work ethic. And then the second half of this section is about laziness, and this is where this part kind of gets me on one way. I can be pretty good about going to work and eagerness to work, and when I arrive at work, I'm always very duty-bound and just focus on the task at hand. But once I get home or on my day off, I can just sit around the house and do absolutely nothing, and I can be really lazy at home. Also, sleep management is not something that I'm good at, so this section definitely has stuff to apply to me as well. This ending phrase, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest, and your poverty will come like a thief, and your need like an armed man. This kind of has implications to being a cultural saying. Kind of like when we say, don't keep all your eggs in one basket, or when it rains it pours, or something like that. It is a cultural saying that Solomon is referencing here. Alright, like the first big section about work ethic could be divided into 2 sections, the second big section about wicked life can also be divided into 2 sections. First section is just a depiction of a wicked person. It describes them as one who walks about with a false mouth. And to me this sounds like our saying, he talks the talk but doesn't walk the walk. In verse 13 it describes subtle gestures that he uses. This seems to imply gestures to a friend while he deceives somebody. Like while he's manipulating somebody to their face, then he would give a slight gesture to a friend to do something against them. And then verse 14 is about the schemes he makes against the innocent person. Verse 15 kind of talks like similarly to a couple of chapters ago, where it talks about the destruction that's going to come on them quite suddenly. Alright, the last section is from verses 16 through 19. This starts out kind of confusing to us. There are 6 things which the Lord hates, 7 which are an abomination to him. So which is it? Is it 6 or is it 7? This is a form of Hebrew poetry where you state something with one number and then state basically the same thing with another number. It's kind of confusing to us because we are very literal with our numbers, but the ancient Hebrew was much more loose with their meaning of numbers. Numbers in Hebrew have more meaning to them than their quantitative value alone. But if we look at this list, we will see 7 things, 2 of which are basically the same thing. So let's look at them. Haughty eyes. Just the arrogance of somebody who basically walks around like they think they own everything. Haughty eyes. A lying tongue. Deception. Hands that shed innocent blood. Violence. A heart that devises wicked plans. Schemes of evil. Feet that run rapidly to evil. An eagerness and excitement, a delight in one's own wickedness. A false witness who utters lies, which is basically the same as number 2, a lying tongue. And one who spreads strife among his brothers. I think this is a really solid list, and really encapsulates the whole of ethics really well. But this doesn't just say that these are bad things to be done. It says in verse 16 that the Lord hates these things. They are an abomination to them. So it shows God's concern for ethics and morality. I think these are all very valid laws to live by, and there are many times in the Bible where it does give summaries of the law, where it just kind of reduces it all down to a few things. The point is that you can always go on making new laws, but the core element of it is to just live well with other people. Just respect other people, live in peace with them, and you don't have to worry about all the laws. You will just obey them naturally. It'll be your nature to obey them. I think this last one is really relevant to our society, and one who spreads strife among brothers. Humans are naturally driven towards strife. Politics are a big thing in every society, in every culture, and they always divide the community, but we can see in our society how politics just really divides people. Just because somebody disagrees with you, that is automatic grounds for you calling them all kinds of bad names, either equating them to the worst humans of history or equating them to not even being human at all. Stirring up strife that divides is an abomination to God. Now, it's also important to note that, although this is true, there are also many times in the Bible where godly people are not afraid to call out what's going on in the society around them. The early church father Polycarp said to Marcion the heretic, "You are the firstborn of Satan." Even the apostles weren't afraid to criticize their opponents. Peter, who encountered a sorcerer who wanted to buy magic tricks from the Christians, told the sorcerer, "You will perish with your wealth." Or we can get into the 2nd and 3rd letter of John. In 2 John verse 7 it says this, "For many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who do not acknowledge Jesus Christ as coming in the flesh. This is the deceiver and the antichrist. Watch yourself, that you might not lose what we have accomplished." He's calling these people the Antichrist. But he gets even more in his 3rd letter. In verse 9, "I wrote some things to the church, but Diotrephes, who loves to be first among them, does not accept what we say. For this reason, if I come, I will call attention to his deeds which he does, unjustly accusing us with wicked words. And not satisfied with this, neither does he himself receive the brethren, and he forbids those who desire to do so, and puts them out of the church." So there is a time to bring attention to what's going on and to call out those who are being evil. How can we know when we're the ones spreading strife or addressing a problem? It can be very difficult to know that. So I don't want to say don't argue with people. Arguments have their place. But be wise, be discerning, be careful of your own emotions. Sometimes a person is just ill-informed and they don't know better. Sometimes they are intentionally deceiving people. But when in doubt, don't you yourself become the one who's ignorantly spreading strife. Anyway guys, that's all for this section. Thanks for watching, and God bless.